Hello and welcome everyone. One of the biggest tournament of the year in Wijk just started, and I will take a look at a game which I consider the most interesting today. So it was played between Max Warmerdam from the Netherlands against Pechac from Slovakia. So two young, ambitious players, and we will see this in this game from this game. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. So far everything looks very normal. Rui Lopez. Black already goes knight ge7 here, which is a rare move, but I checked in the database, so Black has played a few times like this. So of course it was not a complete surprise. This is an interesting move. Okay, knight c3, knight g6. So black makes two moves with the knight, and it looks a little bit, or rather very much awkward on g6. The normal square is of course on f6, and then it controls e4 and d5 squares, so the central squares. But bringing it to g6 also makes sense, so it provides protection for the e5 pawn. And it's also not in the way of the f pawn, so once black finishes development with moves like bishop c5, short castle, it can be much easier to play for f5 because you don't have to worry about first of all, to move the knight and about the protection of the e5 pawn in such cases. So of course it has its own ideas, but still, moving the same piece twice in the opening and to put it into such a square is the line is risky. It's an interesting line, but it looks pretty risky, practically speaking. And already at move 5, the first new move is coming in the game. So, I mean, Warmerdam is extremely good in openings, and he prepared this idea, obviously. So here the main theoretical moves are h4, for example, which is very natural to attack this knight this way, or of course play short castle is normal, or d4. These are the main variations in this system, but he played bishop c4, so very unusual looking move, but makes a lot of sense, and it's top 3 choice of Stockfish, so it was not a complete surprise for black. So why it is not such a weird move? Because I mean, as I said, black used two moves to move it to move the knight to g6, and okay, white also basically not losing the tempo really with this, but adjusted to black setup. And yeah, the bishop is very nice here, and it's attacking on f7, which is important, and also now these d5 ideas, which the bishop has to be somewhat careful on c4 about, are not simply non-existent because the knight is not on f6. So let me show you just the most I would say relevant difference is that there is a line like, for example, knight c6, black plays bishop. Oops. Very weird. So bishop c4, knight to f6. So, and a very common move here is knight c3, and it already can be considered a slight mistake in this position because it simply allows this knight takes e4 move from black. And the point is that once knight e4 is coming, then d5, and black is solving all the opening problems he has, and it's maybe even already a slightly preferable position for black because let's say the bishop goes here, and after the bishop e4, bishop d6 or something like this, black has a pawn in the center and absolutely no issues with the development whatsoever. But you can see that that's the difference, that in that position the knight is on g6, so this type of tactical idea is not working. All right, so let's return to the game. So bishop c4, black played bishop c5 immediately, so even though bishop c4 was a novelty, of course black is well prepared. White goes h4, also very typical against the g6 knight, as I said, and now h6. Black has to do something at this moment. I mean, not only h5 is a very serious threat, but the h pawn also supports knight g5. So, those knight g5 attacking on f7 and on h7 combined with queen h5 can lead to some quick catastrophe for black. So yeah, black has to do something. If black stops this h pawn, then he fails to consider this knight g5 and the position is already lost. After 7 moves, black is falling apart on f7. If d6, then there is a very nice line. This is pretty crucial, I believe. So h5. Knight f4 looks like a nice tempo and a nice square for the knight, but white plays d3 here, very strong move. So wants to take the knight on f4, and if knight takes g2, then king f1. A little bit similar to king's gambit ideas. Bishop f4, ef, d4, bishop b6, for example, knight d5. So white pieces are very active, and on bishop g4, the last important move is c3. So white is building a beautiful center. These two pieces are completely restricted and sidelined, and knight f4 can come at some moment. Rook g1 is an idea, and this king is basically nowhere. Can be really safe. So of course in the center it's not safe, and if it goes to the short side, then the g file is open, and if it goes to the long side, then b4, a4 can come very quickly. So yeah, this is just a nice line which kind of illustrates why black played h6. Of course, still following preparation, knight d5 played by white. So ideas here to play with the c3 and d4 potentially, or c3 and b4 and attack the bishop like that. And also it just puts the knight on a very nice square, very active square. Black plays knight e7. So already with the third move with the knight, but yeah, d5 knight is very strong, so black wants to trade. All preparations, so they were both playing immediately at this moment, just blitzing out their moves. c3, very logical, and short castle. So the full line, I have to say, is extremely provocative with black, I would say. So Pechac was absolutely ready for a big fight here, and I mean, this is just very, very tough to play like this, I would say. So it just offers such a big potential for white to attack, and many different lines, and it's very hard to remember for all the details. So, but it seems like that the line is playable. Just practically speaking, is very, very dangerous. So here Warmerdam went for knight g5, and this was the first move which he spent quite a lot of time on. So there are other possibilities. Of course, b4 is the most natural move in the position, but it looks like that black is fine. I mean, I looked quite a bit at the lines. So how does it go? Bishop b6, a4. So that's obviously the idea, that this bishop has no difficulties. White wants to play a5 and trap the bishop. So if black takes on d5, then we take with the e pawn, winning a tempo on the knight, and then a5 is coming. For example, e4, dc6, ef3, queen f3. However, black takes back a5 is just trapping the bishop. Rook e8 doesn't do anything. King f1, and we will be up a piece. So on a4, a6, And now the original idea in such positions just to take on b6 and have the better structure because of black's ruined pawns on the queen side. I mean, I would say that would be true. So if, for example, we could remove this pawn to h2 or h3, because now this h4 pawn makes a little bit more difficult to switch to positional play with short castle, and we are like kind of overextended on the board, and black is going to play d5 in the next move. Then recapture with the knight, bishop is coming to g4, and he's very active. So yeah, this without this h4 it would be nice, but unfortunately it's on the board. So the correct move here is to play d4. Black takes ed4, then cd4. So black is white is building like a huge, just going forward with the pawns everywhere, and it's very interesting. So for example, knight d5, ed. Okay, here just to show you some nice ideas, knight e7 is the only good move here for black. In case of knight b4, there is a5, bishop to a7, and queen b3. And this knight on b4 is in serious trouble. So for example, if c5, so protecting the knight, then white plays d6. And so white is down a pawn, but this bishop is completely caged. There is attack on f7. Probably white will also not castle here, but play something like king f1 if we get a check, and then rook h3, rook g3 with bishop h6 ideas. Okay, if the bishop is not coming, then the rook is not coming. This bishop is also pretty bad. Position is very tough. And instead, if queen e7 check, then there is king f1, c5. And again, just one very nice idea to illustrate the dangers of black position, because once again, it's important to highlight that these pieces are very far from this king. So bishop g5 is super strong here. And when black takes, then there is d6. So kind of again, just closing the black pieces, and then hg5, and the position is completely losing. There are ideas like queen b1 with going to h7 or knight e5, attack on f7, and bring the queen over to h3. The position is hopeless for black. So there are such spectacular lines. So main line I think is knight e7, d6. Again, very important and typical move. So if white castles, then d6, and black is completely fine here. So there is one piece on bishop on b6, which is not great, but others like bishop g4, knight f5, queen f6 would be really great. And black is just okay. So white plays d6, and for example, if cd, then d5, knight g6, and bishop b2. So again, if we have to play king f1, it's completely great. The main thing is that we have this bishop looking over there. Probably the rook will come to g3, and black's position is very dangerous. So the main line is just to play bishop f4, and after to play knight f5, not to take the pawn right away. White plays bishop f4, c takes d6, castles, queen f6, bishop h2, for example, and then black plays d5, bishop d5, d6 with a complicated game. So very interesting, and a lot of play left in this one. So that looked like the main line in b4 for me, but again, we are in a completely new territory, and white went for knight g5, which also looks very tempting. So basically just to go for a direct attack. Looks super dangerous. Black is still playing a tempo. Knight d5 is only move, otherwise position is lost. So what happens if h takes on g5? I mean, I assume hg is also winning, but knight f6 is a forced checkmate. So it's always good to go for that. Gf6, and now hg5, and I believe computer said mate in 4 or something. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Black can always throw in some, nonsense moves, but queen h5 with queen h7 is unstoppable. Black can play knight g6, queen h5, rook e8, and here there is this mate, but we can also take the knight because of the pin, so unplayable. So black has to take on d5, ed, and b5. Black is still in preparation. This move is a must to play. If the knight goes away to e7, then a move which we already saw is coming with decisive power. Actually, it's d6, closing this bishop and gaining a lot of time to execute a very strong attack. So black takes, and now queen to c2. That's a quite direct threat, and once g6 is coming, then d4, opening the bishop also. E takes d4 and then h5. So white is completely crushing here. It's worth studying that, basically white is attacking with 5 pieces and also the pawn is there. So we sacrificed a few things along the way. Black can take some more material, but we are just going to give checkmate here. It's very nice. So b5, best move. Bishop to b3. And knight to a5. So yeah, just briefly to show that here, if you would like to again go for this similar mating idea, then actually black can already take, and play e4. So that's the difference, that the knight is not on e7. That if we take this, of course, then we are just losing the game to rook e8. So bishop to b3, knight a5. Black wants to take this bishop to c2. And here it's an interesting moment because the next move for black was also played immediately, but it's a serious mistake according to the engine. So in an already provocative and dangerous line for black to play such a provocative move, I don't think it was the idea of black. So I believe it was, there is just so much thing to remember nowadays, that it's so easy to confuse preparation and mix up move orders. Because I mean, basically now white has the threat of playing b4 with a fork, and there are two. Black has two moves here: bishop b6 and knight b7, and it's very easy to mix up those moves. And I would say black played a more logical one because the bishop is good in this. The bishop is good in this diagonal, but the knight has to go back to the game. So he played knight b7, but it just doesn't work. Bishop b6 should have been played, and again, huge complications, but I believe black's position is dangerous, but computer is saying that, okay, it's possible to play. So for example, queen h5, d6, something like b4, knight b7, looks very bad here, and then d4. So bishops are looking over there. It's super dangerous. Many ideas for white, really. So it's tough to play, but I mean, this is the way to play. I mean, this is the only way to play. So knight b7 is not correct, and white played queen h5, which looks extremely natural, but probably there was an even better way, but okay, it's super difficult to find. So knight h7. Not such an easy move to put the knight there. So okay, of course it's attacking the rook. Rook is going to e8, and then d4. So again, we just don't care. We want to open the bishops, bring the queen, maybe bring the rook, and then checkmate. So black takes even with the check. We play king f1, dc3. And now again, very important. So like black is disturbing us with some ideas like cb2. We don't want to waste time with two moves for like b takes on c3. So b4 is the correct move. So if the bishop takes, I believe we have ideas like queen g4 to attack here and attack here, for example. or to go to d4. So it's not even a move. And okay, I just want to show the craziness of the position here. So the best move for black in this position is d6. So basically to make sure that he develops a piece. And now white is of course not taking. White, instead of taking a piece and giving some time for black to bring the knight back to a normal square and then some b4, bishop a6, and the pawns are dangerous. No, not at all. White rather just takes on h6. And if black takes back on h6, this is one of the most shocking line I looked at least for me. So basically we kind of misplaced this knight, and it looks like that we are running out of resources because we cannot bring the rook. Okay, where to bring the queen? And then computer is just saying we play g4. So instead of a piece, we bring a pawn with an absolutely devastating threat of playing g5 and knight f6. And black is losing here, at least in practical play for sure. So now again, these pieces are completely useless. That's why we are not bothering to take. Bishop also cannot be used, and g5, knight f6 is coming. Like absolute, I don't know, amazing idea from computer. Like very, very tough. So what Warmerdam did with queen h5, also very good and much more human. So now black played d6 and d4. So he's also going for this idea to open the bishops. He takes on d4 and he castled. Also makes a lot of sense to castle now because black played d6 already, so the rook will not come on h3. So castles, and now there are big threats. So, and actually this is the first moment in the game where black spent time, and he's already in a very tough situation. So he played f5 here. That's one of the best moves. So just to illustrate the threat, so if black is just wants to finish development with bishop d7, then there is knight to h7 now. Now it's much more forcing and much more understandable. Rook e8 and now bishop h6. So if black takes back, simply queen h6. Idea is knight f6, which is pretty much unstoppable, and black has to give up a queen, or maybe knight g5 is even better, because then it will be probably even a checkmate. But yeah, so it's just completely losing. So f5 to stop this diagonal to close, so there is no knight h7. And here probably the only move in the game which can be criticized for white, even though it also like a logical move in a way, but it is simply not how this line is played, as as we can already conclude from this analysis I did, or like the general type of the position. So we want really to attack, and this knight we should not remove at this moment. So this knight f3 was a little bit slow, and the correct move was rook to e1. So just to bring a new piece into the game, and black has great difficulties. So one of the good and great points of rook e1, of course, is to stopping ideas like queen e8, offering the trade to the queen. So for example, black can play queen f6, knight e6. And I believe what makes this rook e1 not so easy to play, even though it looks very natural, that after bishop takes e6, rook e6 doesn't really lead to anywhere, because black has queen f7 tempo on the queen. And if the queen has to go back, then this whole thing is not that dangerous. And on rook g6, with ideas like bishop h6, black can simply play king h7. We are in trouble. But we have a surprisingly strong move. Not that surprising that we are doing well, but this d takes e6. Just for humans, I believe rook e6 is like the first choice, but d6 is very strong. And Yeah, so basically this e-pawn and the light squares are giving a huge advantage for white at this moment. So I looked at different lines. So for example, if rook e8, which looks like the most natural move to attack this pawn here, then we have beautiful move bishop g5. So it's not that easy. Hg, hg. If the queen moves, then g6 and mate. But black has g6, but here the point is that we take, and f7 is winning a lot of material for white. So rook e8 is not good. There is one important detail which, like, again, white has to basically foresee with playing rook e1, so it's pretty tough. That in this DC position, but okay, I believe at this moment I can already and just say to you that please stop the video if you would like to find a good move, and I believe you can. So this great move is to play b4 here. So black has a threat. We want to win time b4, attacking the bishop, and black is in big trouble. So bishop d4, then we can already play e7, rook f8, and then bishop b3 check, followed by rook e6 is trapping the queen and winning the game. So just to show that why it is so important to play b4, because if we start with e7 with similar ideas, then black has cb2, and the position is, I mean, I would say in balance, of course, very complicated, but so we can take a rook with a check, but as we saw in this line, taking the material is very often a sign that things are not going well. The bishop b2, queen b2, and it's a big mess, and black is doing reasonably well. Okay, so yeah, so the line, so bishop e6, d6, so the best line is to play d5, probably to close this diagonal from the bishop. So bishop b3, rook e6, e7, rook e6 ideas are not there. The bishop is also controlling the pawn. So now we take on d4, not for the material, but to tempt the bishop away from controlling e7. Bishop goes to d6. And now again a highly instructive move. I would again suggest you to maybe stop the video a little bit and then try to find. So first we try to defeat black on the king side with a direct attack, bringing the queen, the knight, and so on. Then we created a pawn in the center, which was very dangerous. And now black managed to more or less deal with those two. So it's time to defeat black on the queen side with a4. And when black plays b4, then we play a5. So very nice ideas. Like for example, now the bishop can come from this direction to help the pawn. This bishop will come from this direction, as we already saw. So quite typical to win the game in the other side of the board when opponent is stuck. Alright, so instead knight f3 was played. Again, I would not say it's a bad move, but objectively after this black is okay. So yeah, and dc3 was played in this position, which probably a mistake, and I mean probably a losing mistake even. Okay, it's hard to say. No, black was still in the game after, still had a chance to save it, but it's, you know, practically speaking. But again, huge credit for black. He really wanted a fighting game, not being scared at all. So yeah, instead of this, queen f6 looks like a much safer move. So just to stop all this bishop takes h6 ideas, and with ideas like playing queen f7 and offer a trade of the queens, is just so much safer that I believe it would have been the choice of most players in this position. So now if white takes on d4, then just bishop b6 with queen f7. Black is even better here. So bishop d2 is correct. And then d3, again a very nice move. So black's idea is not to play dc3 and then activate this bishop on c3, because even though after queen f7 it will be a queen trade, the activity of the pieces will still, I mean, at the very least give white a compensation, but according to computer even an advantage. But to still keep this long diagonal closed, d3, bishop takes, and now bishop d7, with the idea of playing bishop e8 and trap the queen. White plays rook e1, and again, I mean, this line is just quite incredible, because it seems like that when you have a chance to take material, you always should say no, because now rook e8 is an equal position. Black is fine, not much is happening. I mean, relatively speaking to other lines. But if you want to play bishop e8 and win material, white has to take rook e8, then after bishop b5, white is still quite significantly better here because of this bishop on b5 is extremely strong. It will come back to d3 at some moment. Queen remains on the board. And yeah, I mean, even some b4, a4 can come. So even endgames are not so easy. This knight on b7 is so bad. So yeah, this queen f6 was, I believe, the correct move. If you want to play it safe, but okay, black clearly wanted maybe more. I don't know, but it's like it's hard to imagine that white doesn't have at least a perpetual after bishop takes h6 here. So it is super dangerous. Of course, if black takes, white has no intention of giving the perpetual. First, we collect this pawn, then queen g6, king h8, knight g5. So there is a mate threat here, queen e7, and then we can, for example, bring the rook to e1. It's a huge attack, and it's not clear how black can survive here. So queen g7, queen h5 check, then rook can go to e6, knight can go to e6, g4 can be played. A lot of ideas, and black is defending with the queen alone. So black correctly didn't do this, but played c takes b2. Sorry. So rook a2 e1 was played. Just for fun, I looked at bishop takes g7. You know, just to absolutely don't care about material. So king g7, knight g5. But yeah, it's not good. So b takes on a1, queen h7, check, king f6. I believe rook a1 still holds equality for white, despite being down a rook and a piece. So it's still equal. But okay, if queen h6, then there is this nice variation of king e5. And yeah, if we try to checkmate the king, it can actually run away, and we lose. And yeah, if we take the queen only at in this moment, then already king d5, and once again this idea is winning for black. So rook e1 was correct. Now queen f6, only move. Black has to bring the queen. Bishop d2. And even here black has a choice, so that's quite amazing that he's playing in such a risky way, and it's still possible to, you know, even choose between different moves. And I believe black again choose the more risky option. So he really went for a complicated game and tried everything. So he played bishop d7. Looks very logical, of course, just to develop. But what was white's idea with this move bishop d2 is to play bishop c3, decoy the queen. I mean, we will I mean, I will show you a line later, but okay, that's basically that only that after queen c3, knight g5, this mate on h7 is unstoppable. And if knight g5 right away, then there is always queen h6. So that's why this bishop c3 is needed. Therefore, the safest move, in my opinion, is just to play b4. So stopping this idea of bishop c3. So now white is playing rook e8. The idea is knight g5. Black has only one move, but that's unfortunately a very unpleasant one for white. It's queen f7, offering a lot of trades which are not possible to avoid. So if bishop d7, then there is a relatively simple, straightforward winning variation. We take the rook here, rook e8, knight to g5, and yeah, this idea is very strong. So let's say black goes here, check, check, check here, king d8, and rook e8, bishop e8, knight e6. Everything is with the check. Now if king e7, there is bishop g5. And if king d7, then thanks to this b4, this bishop a4 is now winning. But okay, once again, on rook e8, queen f7 is super unpleasant, and basically the game is ending here at this moment with the draw. White cannot trade the queens, obviously. I mean, it will be just some material down, and the rook takes on f8, king f8. There is not much to do. We give a check, queen g8, queen h5. Now knight g5 is a huge threat, so black has to also go to queen f7, and yeah, the game just ends like this as a draw. So it would have been the one way to finish the game as a draw, and it would have been the best for black to go for this. Instead, he went for bishop d7, and white played this very nice move, bishop c3. So of course, what I was talking about, that once the queen is not there to stop the checkmate, then nobody is stopping the checkmate. Also, the rook is cutting the king to run away. So let's say rook f6, and then it's just mate. King is not running anywhere. And yeah, basically black played a losing move here, missing white's response, obviously, because I mean the defensive move is not so difficult once you see that you are just losing in the other variation. So black absolutely had to play g6 here, and actually he's still fine. So the problem is that if white is playing queen h6, now the bishop is already possible to capture, because knight g5 is just exactly nothing because of queen g7. So if white goes rook e7, then black has rook f7. And takes. Okay, white still can try for some ideas, but there is some cool defensive move like queen h8 and check, king g8, queen g6, and eventually black is stabilizing and up a piece and will win. So on g6, there is no other way than to take on f6. G takes on h5. Bishop is hanging, it has to go back to b2. Rook is coming to e8. And if you look around, black is up a pawn, but okay, his position is still like exotic, I would say, or something like that. So everything is in unusual place almost. So white plays some move like knight g5 with ideas like playing bishop d1 and bishop d1 and not the h4 but h5 pawn. It's basically lost in that case. White also has knight e6 ideas. So if anyone is better here, it's definitely white, despite being down a pawn. But okay, black is very much in the game, and it's just a huge fight at this moment. But instead, queen h6, which looks like that's what we were dreaming about the whole game, to trade that queen and then just convert the extra pawns in the endgame, or at least to be completely safe. So I would suggest you to stop the video if you did not see somewhere this move. I mean, I guess it's quite spectacular, so it will make it to quite a few places. So obviously White did not trade at this moment, but played rook e7. Very spectacular and very strong and winning. So the game is just over at this moment. Sorry. G7 pawn is hanging, D7 bishop is hanging, and we even want to trade queens. I mean, even that one is a threat. So if G8, then rook G7, and this bishop is winning the game. So yeah, there is simply no move at this moment. Rook F7 also, of course, just hanging. So Black decided to play on Queen H5, Rook G7, King H8, Rook F7. So just one repetition: Rook D7, Rook D7, and Rook F6. In case of King J8, White could use this thing to clean the whole seventh rank, but it's not needed. He's already up a minor piece, so at this moment he can just go for the queen, and let's say King G8, Knight G5, and Rook H8 mate is coming. So it was not better. Black played Rook F6, really just giving up a few pieces. Bishop F6, King G8, and Knight G5. Sorry, Rook G7 first, King F8, and Knight G5. So Knight E6 is coming with a tempo. In this variation, I mean, F5 is hanging, Rook H7 is an idea. The game is completely over. And so okay, it was just Black played till checkmate, so he stops Knight E6 this way. Black just takes on B2. Rook F5 is coming. Black played Queen A8. I believe a nice gesture to allow the game to finish with a checkmate, which was Knight to H7. So very spectacular, very complicated game. I mean, credit to both players; they were out there to fight. Also, of course, it's not possible to play such game with White if Black is not trying to be, a partner in this. So, but of course, congratulations to White for a very nice win, and let's hope for such fighting chess in the upcoming days from Wijk.